I want to tell you a little bit about my own background here because I think it illustrates some of the frustrations that a lot of folks are feeling. I was raised by my grandmother. My mother struggled with opioid addiction for a big chunk of my early life, and I'm proud of my mom because she's about to celebrate 10 years clean and sober, which is a great blessing for my family. Thank you. But I remember when I was a kid, and sometimes times were especially tight, and I remember sometimes my grandmother, I called her Mamaw. Mamaw would say, we just don't have enough money, and it's a little too cold tonight. We're going to throw a few extra blankets on the bed. We're not going to turn on the heating tonight. And I know there are a lot of Michigan families, and I know it gets even colder in Michigan than it does in my home state of Ohio, a lot of Michigan families who are going to be worried about whether they can turn the heat on in the middle of a cold winter night. And I think that's a disgrace. We've got the richest and most prosperous country in the world, and right now we've got a vice president who would rather buy oil and gas from tin pot dictators all over the world. I say we make energy more affordable for American citizens. We drill, baby, drill, and give everybody the right to turn on their heat in the middle of the night. It's funny, when the media sometimes they'll ask Kamala Harris, they'll say, well, what is your exact plan to lower the price of groceries and housing and all the things that have gotten more expensive thanks to your policies? And Kamala will say, well, I grew up in a middle-class family. Or they'll say, what is your plan to close down that southern border that you bragged about opening just 3.5 years ago? And she'll say, well, I worked at McDonald's, and I made the hash browns, and I was very good at it. And by the way, I don't even know if I believe that anymore. I think that maybe President Trump has worked at McDonald's for longer than Kamala Harris has. But what does it say about Kamala Harris? And what does it say about the kind of vice president she has been and the kind of president she would be that she cannot answer simple questions about what she plans to do as President of the United States? And one of the things that I think it says is that Kamala Harris is not so much a candidate as representative of a broken machine in American life. She doesn't so much want to be the president. She wants to just follow orders, I believe, from the same people who have broken our country over the past 20 years. Think about it. How can Kamala Harris, who is a member of the political party that has governed this country for the past 20 years with the brief interruption of 4 years of Donald Trump's leadership, how is it possible for her to stand on a stage and blame Donald J. Trump for the very things that she has done? You do that when you don't have any ideas, and you do that when you have no idea what you want to do as President of the United States. And set to the side any policy disagreements that we have with Kamala Harris. I am terrified about having a person like that sit in a room with Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping if she cannot answer friendly questions from the friendly American media. How can we possibly expect her to negotiate on our behalf in front of the world's worst people? We can't. And the thing that she's done the worst at, of course, there are so many issues that we could talk through, so many issues where I think the American people agree with our common sense approach. For starters, why don't we just educate children in American schools and stop indoctrinating them? Why don't we ensure that every kid has a good education? When we've got $1.7, $1.8 trillion deficits every single year, why is it that Kamala Harris wants your tax money to fund sex changes for illegal immigrants? That's pretty crazy.